Welcome to the On the Edge podcast. I'm Stephanie Quayle, musician, songwriter, and mental health advocate. Throughout this season, I will be chronicling the behind the scenes of each song off my latest album, On the Edge. I hope each of these 8 songs, these 8 pieces of my heart, resonate with yours from the moment you heard them until the time you now hear the truth behind them. From betrayal to grief to love and laughter, this story isn't just mine. It's ours, and I'm ready to take us on a journey of redemption to redefine ourselves through honest discovery. So borrow some courage until the courage becomes your own. And that's when you'll be ready to tell your truth. So buckle up, because sometimes the truth is stranger than fiction. I'm Stephanie, and this is the On the Edge podcast.
I could feel the wind, I could see the fire. In that moment, felt like the only option. Then I turned around, 'cause on the get back up count, I had to touch the edge to know the line.
Hey guys, welcome to episode 1 of the On the Edge podcast. I'm Stephanie, and I'm so glad you're here. If we are just meeting for the first time in this episode, go ahead and jump back to the trailer and give that a listen. We covered a lot of ground there, and this will make sure you are up to speed on the story and this season of the podcast. Don't worry, we'll wait for you right here when you're done. So in this episode, we are going to jump into the very first song from my latest album, how it reflects on my relationship with my late boyfriend, and how I initially coped with both his death and the learning of his infidelity. See what I mean? That it's important to catch the trailer if you haven't listened yet. All right, let's dive on in together, friend. Let me ask you, is there a time period in your life that you wish you could get back? Or at least get a redo? Because if we are being honest, the one commodity in life we really can't get back is time. How you spend it, who you spend it with, and how you can make the most of the time you have left moving forward. It really puts things in perspective when it's laid out that simply. The hard truth. Thinking back on my 4-year relationship with my late boyfriend made me start to face some of these questions, because after learning of the longevity of his infidelity, it made me question myself. Why did I stay when deep down I knew something was off? Something felt a little off. Because the staying, that was on me. That is something I take responsibility for. Learning of his infidelity was a mix of emotions from betrayal, grief, love, and this strange level of validation. I wasn't crazy after all. But now that he was gone, where was I supposed to place all of these emotions? I felt like I had lost so much of myself, and I had no idea where to start picking up the pieces. It wasn't moment by moment, it was second by second. So when people would ask me to sum up this time in my life that I was never really able to share, I just call it the lost years.
I lost my way, I lost my soul, I lost too much weight, I lost all control, I lost some friends, I lost you, my dear. But when people I just say I lost years, the lost years.
I want to rewind the story a bit before we go any further. Because while you can imagine this was a life-altering, heart-shattering, I won't ever take a deep breath again, I'll never sing again, I'll never get back on stage again kind of moment, there were so many moments and details and subtleties of self-betrayal on my own part that also got me to this moment. I was complicit. Because while this specific relationship ended in tragedy, this wasn't my first 4-year relationship rodeo. This pattern had been there before, and unfortunately, it would happen again. Have you been there? I'm guessing you might have. We all have a story like this, and there's no other way to describe it except the lost years. The years we can't get back. I wrote the song with the one and only Tori Quayle. I'd previously written down the title, The Lost Years, and honestly, I hadn't put a lot of thought into it at that point. But when Tori saw it, she knew that that would be a title to one of the songs we would make and eventually be on the album. I'll never forget that summer sunny day in Montana. Tori and I were in my living room and we started writing The Lost Years. She somehow always knew that this would be the first song written. She's glorious like that, but also the very first song on the album. It really set the tone. Tori just started playing these beautiful chord progressions like she often does, and the first verse spilled out, and then the chorus until the entire song, top to bottom, was finished in under 2 hours. The song really establishes the roadmap for the rest of the album because while this song, and really the undercurrent of the entire album, is heavy, we wanted to make sure we were able to write some lighthearted melodies for the weight of the emotion too, which you'll hear about more in the upcoming episodes. The line from the song that hits me the hardest, and one I've reflected upon a lot, and also that I'm so proud of because I'm on the other side, is "Will I ever be happy again?" And how many times it was repeated throughout the song, because that is a question we can all relate to. The depths of sadness and loneliness and pain can confront you with an ache that only leaves you with a question. Will I ever be myself again? If this is you, whether from a relationship or a season of grief in your life, I hope you know you are not alone as you listen to the song. In my case, both options of either staying in the relationship or leaving, they both felt impossible. Because when it was good, it was so good. And it was bad, it was deafening. I felt that I'd lost so much of myself at that point, I didn't know which way was up or down. Then fast forward to his tragic accident and learning of his infidelity. It was all too much. I just felt like I had lost everything, including myself. So I decided to name it to be able to reclaim it. The lost years it was, but the found years would certainly come next, because I knew I had to figure out a way back to myself. I didn't know if I was going to be able to do it, or how for that matter, but I knew I had to figure out a way. So if you're also in a season of asking yourself, will I ever be happy again? I'm here to tell you, while it may not feel like it right now, you will. You absolutely will, my friend. I'm here to hold space and courage with you in that. Keep going. Because the greatest part about it is that you won't ever be yourself again. You'll be better than your former self. You'll be stepping into a version of yourself that feels more in line with who you are meant to be and what your soul longs for. There will be no more trying. You'll just be, and that will be more than enough. The lost years was a reminder for me, a reminder that I needed to find myself again. And so I started, and so can you. I'm excited for this journey we have embarked on together. The Lost Years is such a special song to me since it was the first one we wrote, the first one on the album, and it really sparked and put into motion and movement all the rest. And I can't wait to chronicle the songwriting process with you throughout the season. And speaking of the rest of the season, you'll hear me talk about something at the end of this episode and also at the end of each episode of this season. That is borrowing courage. To me, this is a concept where we can, just for a little bit of time, borrow courage from someone or something around us to get us through a tough situation when we don't seem to have the strength to walk through it ourselves. You can borrow courage when you just need a moment of bravery, a second of strength, or maybe a season of stability. Because after a while, that courage will become your own, and then someone can borrow some of that courage from you for their own difficult time. You'll hear me talk about this concept in each upcoming episode because it is so important, and who I borrow courage from personally. But today, I'd like you to think of someone or something that you can borrow some courage from immediately to get through whatever hardship you are facing. Because remember, soon that courage will be yours to hand out to help others. Are you ready to keep going, friend? Let's start to discover our truths together to truly heal. Today, what is something that you haven't been able to face on your own? Think about this concept of borrowing courage. What might you be able to face today with this newfound borrowed courage? In the next episode, I'm bringing you behind the scenes of the song Like She Is. You'll be introduced more to my late boyfriend's daughter and just how spectacular she is. I'll also be explaining the why behind the timing of sharing my story now, how I met him in the first place, and what happened when I got the phone call about his plane crash. But for now, I'll leave you with this reminder, friend. If you can face it, you can change it. And maybe, just maybe, seeing those lost years for what they were will help you begin to find yourself again. See you next week.
I lost my way. I lost my soul. I lost too much weight. I lost all control. I lost some friends. I lost you, my dear. But when people ask, I just say I lost yours. I lost my way.
This show is produced by Elizabeth Evans Media Productions. All rights reserved.
Too much weight. I lost all control. I lost some friends.
Hey, y'all, if you're loving this show, it would be awesome to hear from you. Head to your podcast app, scroll down to where it says ratings and review, and share your thoughts with, well, a rating and a review. Your words might just be what the next person needs to tune in and find the healing they're needing in their life.